These West Coast games are killing me. Late night. I know you guys feel the same way. Got to stay up, though, and watch the boys. San Francisco hasn't been kind to us so far. Really bad baseball. And that's something that we haven't seen this team play a whole lot of this year. Hey, how about us figuring out a way to get Owen Caissie in the lineup? I'm going to give you some ideas. I think we're starting to see that he could really be a contributor, and they're not putting him in. Now, against left-handers, yeah, probably wouldn't fit. But how about some platoons that might work? How about this? Some rumors that Adley Rutschman could be on the Cubs' radar. Remember Baltimore signed their catcher to like a long-term contract, and it wasn't him. And he could be traded. And I'll tell you what, he'd be a great fit for the Cubs. Brandon Birdsell, elbow surgery, out for the year, and former Cub Willson Contreras losing it. And we're going to get into all that on the Cubs baseball channel. So like, subscribe, thumbs up, get in the comments section. Don't forget about us and our AveD home. Let's talk a little Cubs baseball today, guys. Hope you missed me yesterday, and it's great to see you guys today. Let's go. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs baseball channel. Good to see you guys. How about this? I'm going to throw this up here in case you ever want to hang out on the socials at Broadcaster Mick, and appreciate you for being here on the show. Yeah, stayed up late, watched one of the worst Cubs performances of the season. Just a bad game, and you're going to have those from time to time. Just balls thrown off of guys' helmets and bouncing around. Runners around the bases. Rafael Devers beat up on the Cubs. It just wasn't one of those games where you're looking at it and going, phew. Colin Ray looked like the Colin Ray that I'm always afraid is going to pitch. Sometimes he doesn't look bad, but he did very hittable in that game. All right, well, let me get to this right away. Play Owen Caissie and bench someone else. You know, they took Ian Happ out of the lineup. They put Willie Castro in the outfield and left, and obviously he's a right-handed batter. Yeah, they put him out there. You look like an infielder playing outfield at times, but he can do it. I'm looking at this Cubs roster, and I'm going, there's ways to give Owen Caissie some playing time here. And I mean, let's play him every day. He could platoon DH with Seiya Suzuki, right? One guy goes against right, one guy goes against left. You could also put him in the outfield. Somebody else may have to play center. Pete Crow Armstrong's got one of the lowest OPSs here lately, and I love Hollywood. Don't get me wrong, and I love his defense and everything else, but he just hasn't contributed a whole lot. I think he's starting to get a little bit more on track. Ian Happ, I've talked about him before. You guys know it's this and this and this and this, nothing consistent there. And then Tucker, we've talked about that too. He got a hit, but you could still, find some at bats there. I don't think they're going to do that. Hopefully we got through the roughest part of his slump. But I just feel like Caissie brings a lot to the table that the Cubs need right now, and that's just energy. The games where even some of the Sunday game against the Angels, it's like they won, but it just seems so flat sometimes. Get these young guys in there, let them get an opportunity to bring a spark to the team, and pretty excited about what this future is going to look like. Now, I threw this in here because I felt like it was worth talking about, right? You're starting to see some reports that Baltimore may be willing to trade Adley Rutschman after the season. Now, this is a guy that I thought was going to be an MVP one day. And I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility, right? But they also went out and signed, their catcher, and Rutschman had been their catcher But a week in, Samuel Basayo got signed by Baltimore to an 8-year, $67 million contract. And this is a big deal because, he was one of their top prospects. He gets up. They think big things about him. You had Rutschman. What are you going to do with both of these guys? You're going to have a catcher DH. You're going to have a catcher play first base. Or is Baltimore going to make a deal and trade Rutschman to somebody else? Now, 2022, he was 12th in MVP voting and second in Rookie of the Year, right? He hit 254, 13 home runs, and 42 knocked in. The next year, he came back, 9th MVP, Silver Slugger, All-Star, and he batted 277 and hit 20 home runs and had 80 knocked in. He was an All-Star again in 24 and put up great numbers, pretty consistent, 19 home runs, 79 knocked in, and a 250 average, and he fell way off this year for Baltimore. And I don't know if the former first-round pick, and he was, I think the first pick overall in the 2019 draft out of Oregon State. I don't know if there's concern here or if this is a guy that a change of scenery, maybe he's a Jake Arrieta type, right? We get him and all of a sudden, boom, it comes together, and I get it. Carson Kelly's had a great year. Miguel Amaya was back and it looked like he was going to be all right, got hurt. But I don't really look at any of those guys long term, and it's been a while since the Cubs have kind of had that catcher that you're like, hey man, this is the catcher of the future. And that leads me into Willson Contreras, because he was kind of our catcher of the future. And then all of a sudden, like they didn't sign him. And one of the reasons that it was reported that they didn't sign him was his temper. And our friend David Kaplan, said that he had basically reported that he was breaking iPads and kind of had this bad temper. Well, we're seeing that now at the major league level. I mean, he's got a 6-game suspension for just losing his mind after striking out on a good pitch. We saw it against the Cubs this year. When he's on first base and he's screaming, it almost reminds me of some of these football players that have had these head injuries. He was a catcher for a long time. You take a lot of balls off the mask. It just doesn't seem like kind of rational behavior. I saw this guy come up through the system. I've always liked Willie, loved Willie, and I still do. But I'm just worried, to be honest with you. So, I think that this could be more than just the guys upset about striking out. I mean, you never know. But when you're behind the plate, and one of the best catchers that I ever saw was Robinson Chirinos. And the Cubs traded him in the Matt Garza deal along with Chris Archer to Tampa Bay. I think if he wouldn't have had head injuries from foul balls, he could have been a perennial all-star. He's one of the best players I ever saw come up through, the Cubs system. But, the injuries took a toll on him. Still love him. And I just don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just, out in left field on this one. But watching Willie, the way that he's acted, it's been, kind of scary a little bit. And I hope that he gets it together. If it's just a temper, I hope that he figures it out. But if it's more than that, I hope he gets help, because it's just not rational, And there's times where, you saw him that the game against the Cubs, he's screaming at first base. His teammates are telling him to calm down. And then after the game, you could tell that the Cardinal teammates were just like, they're sick of this guy. You could just tell. You could read their body language. So, there was kind of like where, you get to that point where your teammates are kind of, sick of dealing with all of that stuff. Hey guys, I want to tell you something cool. We are going to be doing a lot of really fun stuff and it's through AveD. And some of you guys have signed up already. Use our QR code to do that. But we got playoff tickets. We got some swag. It's basically go on there, pick scores, and play the different games that we have. It's like picking games and stuff. And then we keep track of your record. And I pick on there too. So I'm part of it, but some parlays and stuff like that, and we give away prizes. That's kind of where we're all going to hang out and talk Cubs baseball. It's called Mick Nation, and it's AveD, and we appreciate them so much. I'll leave that up there as we kind of move on through the show. Bad news for Cubs prospect Brandon Birdsell. Birdsell was coming into his own, helped the AA Cubs win the championship. He was one of the starters in the playoffs, and was really consistent throughout his entire 2023 season, and then went to AAA. And then once he kind of figured it out, it was coming together for him. He's got this four-seam fastball that's kind of up in the zone. And when he gets kind of on that pitch, it's really hard to pick up. And he was turning heads in the Cubs organization. People were starting to talk about him as being a potential starter, and it could have happened sooner than later. And so disappointed that he's going to be out now for, the foreseeable future, having, Tommy John surgery. It sucks, He's only 25 years old, 9th rated Cubs prospect. He was a 5th round pick in 2022. And 2.77 ERA, 24 starts, double in AAA, and 23 was talking about that. Was kind of just really turning heads, and was the Cubs minor league pitcher of the year in 24. And now, he's going to have his UCL reconstructed, which happens a lot these days in baseball. But that's a shame. You hate it for him. What was he? 426, 12 starts in Iowa, and then had the elbow problem. So wish him the best of luck. Really like Brandon, great athlete, great guy. And what the tough part about picking pitching is these guys staying healthy, and that's why when you see him draft, a lot of Cubs haven't really done a lot with drafting pitching because of the fact that they get hurt, right? But at the same time, you got to have pitching to win, right? Big part of it. All right, let's cheer up after having to see Reese McGuire pitch because things got so bad last night. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to put up the Cubs postseason playoff odds. So as of right now, the Cubs playoff odds, 99.6% chance to make the playoffs. So that ought to make you guys feel better. Although they're slipping in the probability to win the World Series, 4.5 now in that area, 90.3% chance to clinch a wild card, and still 9.3% chance to win the division. Obviously, Milwaukee is playing the best baseball in the league, and it's going to be tough for the Cubs to track them down. Cubs take on the Giants one more time, and out in San Francisco. And what does that look like? Well, I'm going to tell you what that looks like. That is going to be, and hopefully for the Cubs, a bounce back, but that is a 2:45 game. And the Cubs will try to salvage one from San Francisco after sweeping the Angels. It'll be Logan Webb, 12-9 with a 3.13 ERA against Shota Imanaga, 8-6 with a 3.03 ERA for Shota. So afternoon affair against the Giants before the Cubs take on the Colorado Rockies. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the Cubs playing out in San Francisco just because I love listening to and watching the Giants TV. They do the best job in baseball. Play-by-play is great. So Anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Get in the comments section. Do you think that Adley Rutschman would be a good fit for the Cubs? Do you think they're going to go out there and be aggressive like they were with Kyle Tucker? Baltimore is going to be looking for a way to improve their team. Would the Cubs be willing to give up some players to get Rutschman, and could he be the future catcher? I think I think that it could happen. I think the Cubs will be in this mix. Anyway, like, subscribe, thumbs up, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Go.